Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Louisa. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're coming back, welcome back. And for those of you who are wondering why I sound and look terrible, I have COVID. It finally caught up with me. Like, this is actually the first time that I've contracted it, so I think that was pretty good going. So yeah, I am homesick and I'm, a little bit bored. I'm not too sick, but I'm sick enough that I definitely can't go out and socialize. So instead, what I wanted to do today was to do a reaction video. I've actually seen this video, but it's been a few weeks, and back when I first watched it, I was crying. I totally related to the transparency in this. Hopefully, hopefully I'm not quite as affected by it this time around. But I thought it would be a really good example of relationships and things that are really important to talk about. And I love the transparency in this video. So this is from a channel called Sloan, and he does really great social commentary and pop culture commentary and things like that. So if you're interested, I will link his channel in the description box and the link for this particular video, so you can check it out for yourself. But in the meantime, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this particular one.
And I'm not going to try to edit this video, and I'm not trying to even get sympathy talking about this. I think for me personally, I feel like I owe you guys it, which I know isn't true, but I've always felt so connected and to my subscribers and just to this channel that I can't imagine going through something so bad and not telling you guys. It just feels weird. Since June last year, so almost a year, I've been in a relationship, and I don't want this to be a hate video. It's not going to be a hate video because I'm not hateful and I don't hate him or anyone involved. But I got into a relationship, and it's interesting to see, to speak about these stories, these relationships, these toxic relationships, harmful relationships, you know what I mean? Domestic violent, things like that. To talk about them on my channel, you would think that I would know better, right? You would think I would know better. I was in a relationship for 6 years before this past one, and I just it was really easy,
Alright, I'm just gonna pause for a moment and just say, you can have all of the training in the world, you can be totally aware of every red flag to look out for, and you can still get sucked into trusting someone who is not trustworthy, because unfortunately red flags only really make sense in hindsight, and it's more of an accumulation of little signals across a period of time. So a lot of people feel really stupid after the relationship because they feel like they should know better, but that's not on you. That's on the other person for having manipulated in the first place. And trusting someone isn't a bad thing, and trusting the wrong people doesn't mean that you're the one who's faulty. It means that they're the one who is stupid for violating your trust.
We didn't have issues. I don't know what it feels like to be cheated on, and I left that relationship because I'm young. I was with him for 6 years, and I needed to go and learn about myself. And I realize I've got issues when it comes to depending on people or emotionally depending on someone. I think it kind of goes back to my internalized homophobia and just issues accepting myself. So I put a lot of pressure on someone else, or maybe even not pressure, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to have someone else. And I think like a lot of us, when you grow up, you start to see that your behavior is like similar to your parents. And my mom's always been super nurturing. My parents are, and I think I just like wanted someone to take care of. And I was in a relationship where I financially and emotionally took care of everything.
Okay, yeah. You know, this could be something that he needs to work on in terms of like maybe a codependency sort of situation where to feel validated as a person, and he might relate it to internalized homophobia, but I mean the same thing happens in heterosexual relationships, so I don't think it's necessarily a sexuality thing, where you want to feel like you have a purpose for someone else, and you do that by fulfilling all of these roles in their life, like taking care of them. And it's great to be nurturing, and it's great to be a nurturing person, and there's nothing wrong with that, again. But when that becomes a source of validation where you feel like you have to do it, otherwise someone might not give you what you need in terms of feedback in some way. So it's filling a hole, and that hole needs to be filled internally in many respects. That's something that's missing in you, and you're looking for other people to fill it, rather than sorting that out internally, and maybe looking at therapy, maybe seeking different forms of love. So for example, Christians would probably tell you that we get a lot of love and validation from God, and that has helped me considerably in weeding out terrible friendships and terrible relationships and that kind of thing, because I'm not looking for approval from people as much as I probably did in the past.
So now let's just get to the story. And there's a lot I could say about him or could tell you guys about, but I'm not going to trash him because there's still that nurturing inside of me that just wants to make sure he's okay. I'm just like trying to figure out how to be okay with myself. And we went to Hawaii recently. It was fun. I thought it was good, but I went to Coachella last weekend, and I went with some friends, actually a good YouTube friend that I have, and I'm so thankful for those people. But I went to Coachella, and I was nervous. I mean, I've never done that before, and you know, I don't know, I get weird about crowds, but it was good. And when I went there on Friday night, I had a bad feeling about my ex, and I made that very clear, and I was communicating that with him. But there is nothing I could do to stop him. Even asking and stuff, like he decided to have someone over who's a friend of mine, and I'm not like, there's no hate to him. Like, he's just the catalyst in this situation. He's a victim too. He didn't know better, but my ex did.
I mean, yeah, in situations of cheating, like obviously the person who is most culpable is the partner or the spouse, who in theory should be loyal to you and who is breaking the relationship. But I mean, technically speaking, his friend did make a choice. He made a decision to betray his friendship, and you know, I admire Sloane's graciousness in the situation, but at the same time I think it might be doing himself a disservice by not acknowledging how painful that is.
And he decided to go out and drink. He like broke the window, which thank God I got that fixed. But he went out and he brought this guy back, and I'm like riding home from Coachella, and the entire day, I'm like talking about him, showing him off like normal, and then I go onto my Ring camera. I've got like cameras in my house and outside my house because you guys know why. And I saw him on the Ring camera, and they like, I didn't know in the moment, but I saw them go to the kitchen, and when they went to the kitchen, they hooked up. And it's something that maybe like sounds foolish to you guys and everything, but like I guess like I wasn't maybe the happiest in this relationship, but I just kept giving so much, and all I wanted was like to like have someone who's faithful. And so they hooked up in the kitchen while I'm on the bus in Coachella, like looking at my phone, like looking at the ring, trying to figure out, trying to hear. And then I guess they did their thing, and then the guy left. But then, and my ex is texting me the entire time, I even like before I left, I wrote like a note, and I put like, I love you so much, like be good. And I just like sprayed my cologne. Like I'm just like an idiot.
Okay, again, not an idiot. Like, the only way to function in any relationship is on the assumption of trust. If you don't have the assumption of trust, then you don't have a relationship. And so, even when you suspect, even when you have a gut feeling that someone is going to be unfaithful, or that they have been unfaithful, it's not on you to treat them with suspicion all the time. Like, you won't have a relationship if you treat them with suspicion all the time. And if they take that goodwill and they break your trust, then again, that is on them. That is not something that you deserve for operating with trust.
I just feel like an idiot. So then the guy left, and I guess then my ex wanted more, so then he called him back, and he says they didn't do anything more. But then I'm FaceTiming him, and I see them in our bed. I'm just like, why is it 3 a.m.? Like, you're drunk, you're in our bed. Like, I would never bring someone else in our bed. And he made the guy lie, and he lied and said nothing happened, we're just chilling. And that just wasn't the truth. I mean, I found out later on they were laying in bed, had their arms around each other and things. It's like, that's supposed to be like my person. Like, I thought that was my person. And the gay community is very like fluid, I guess, and a little bit more open. But like for me, it's just, that's something I cherish, and I want to protect that part of me. And then the second time when he came back, they went into the living room and they figured out a plan. And I'm going to include an audio clip of them discussing how they were going to lie to me, because I feel like being cheated on is different, but then watching like the person you're supposed to be in love with like coordinate on how they're going to lie to you, it just like that kind of changes a person. So listen carefully. I'm not going to show the video. I don't want to give away their identity again, especially the other guy. He's got no fault in it, but like listening to this really changed me.
Okay, I have screenshots of what I said to you. I'm gonna say I called you because, like, I'm sorry at the end of the day. Yeah. I'm not, like, I'm good. I won't say anything. I really. What? Okay.
Okay, so
I mean, there's a lot of things that are maybe unique to the gay community, what he said about people being more fluid. So one of my brothers is gay, and he has said that, like, the way that gay guys date, which is different to how lesbians date, is they kind of start out hooking up and then generally have a relationship from there. Like, if you're into hooking up and that's your thing, then you should probably say that, so that you're not, wasting someone's time or going behind their back. But if someone thinks that, fidelity is important to them, then that's important to them. And don't string them on, don't lead them on. Like, you either want the same relationship or you don't. And the whole point of faithfulness is to create a secure relationship. And security in relationships is all about healthy attachment. Because if you can't sort of rest in the relationship, you can't feel at ease at all times in the relationship, where you aren't constantly worried, you aren't constantly second guessing, what you mean to that person, whether they value you, whether they will stick around through ups and downs and things like that, then the foundation of the relationship is pretty shaky. And it will cause you to have anxiety in the relationship and to feel always a little bit uneasy about losing the other person. And I mean, you shouldn't have to feel uneasy about losing the other person unless you're actually doing really terrible things. So the guy who's cheating should feel anxious that he is going to lose the relationship, not the person who is being cheated on, because they haven't done anything to warrant that. They're not violating the relationship. And there are so many times in relationships in general where someone will be very, very superficial and they will put it onto someone else when they aren't being titillated. Because for some people, our relationship is all about me.
Okay, so hearing that gave me everything I needed to confront him, and he lied, but then he told the truth. And after that, I just didn't care about myself, I didn't care what happened to me. And I did things at Coachella on Saturday I wasn't proud of, and things that weren't healthy for me, but I just was so low and I felt so worthless. And that's why I'm so thankful for you guys too, because I know I'm worth something.
Now I remember why I was crying last time. Of course, you are worth something. Any human life is, considered to be sacred, right? And so many of us sell ourselves short when it comes to relationships, or when it comes to what we put up with. There's no valid reason why anyone should have their feelings disregarded. Absolutely none. And in many respects, I am very glad that he had cameras up in his house, because it sounds like this ex of his would have totally just gaslit him the entire time if he didn't have concrete evidence. And it sounds like he tried to, even though he had concrete evidence. And it's people can be absolutely appalling in so many ways.
And some people might just think it's a stupid little YouTube channel and stuff, but this is my purpose in life. This, it's so hard for people to figure out what their calling is, and this is it for me. And I'm mad that I put myself in a compromising situation where I risked my well-being. So Saturday I went out, and sorry, my phone vibrated, but Saturday I went out and I didn't care what happened to me. And then Sunday I left early because I made him come and pick me up so that we could start packing his things. And it was hard. He like, wrote me a song trying to apologize, and like hearing that destroyed me, but I can't like once someone has taken everything from you, there's nothing left to give. So for me, I'm just now working on healing. He's moved out. He's picking up the last of his stuff, I think, in like the next hour. But my mom's been here with me. Thank God for her. Thank God for her. And I'm gonna get through it, but like it's been hard. Honestly, I haven't been like the most proud of my channel or my work. I just haven't been like happy with myself. And a lot of it is because for months I allowed him to make me feel less than and to live in a toxic world. And even though I'm so sad right now and so low, I'm just so like looking forward to the future and just figuring out who I am and proving to you guys that I'm gonna make it out here, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can and try to be the best person I can.
It is really hard to figure out a purpose in life, and if he has something meaningful going on in his life, first of all, that's great, because it means that he has some grounding and motivation to keep going and to recover. Having family, having support networks, having a purpose, these are all great things for the healing process. In general, the healing process will take time. And I mean, one of the biggest issues is figuring out how to trust again.
That's all I can do now, and I need to stop taking care of other people and just take care of myself. And I told you guys I was taking a break on YouTube. I took a break, and I want to just get back into it. I just want to get back into filming and being in my routine and connecting with you guys and the podcast, and I have a lot to live for. So thank you guys for hanging in there with me, and I really hope you guys see a change, because I feel like I haven't been myself. So thank you for the continued support. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like even within the relationship, this guy was tearing him down in many different ways and getting him to question his worth as a human being and getting him to question what it is that he deserves in relationships. And I think, like, one of the things that worries me is that he's let this go a bit too easily with, like, the friend. And that might be to do with the self-worth issues. So the reason why that concerns me is because it's almost like he's invalidating his own emotions. So it's not just that, like, other people invalidate his emotions, but he does it to himself by saying, that this person didn't really know what they were doing, this person isn't culpable for what they did. And, like, as a Christian, forgiveness is supposed to be a thing, and it definitely is. If you're Christian, you have to. But it doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge to yourself and also confront other people about how they have harmed you. Like, there's literally nothing in the book that says that you shouldn't do that. There's passages in the book that say that you should. I think it's Matthew 18, where Jesus says, if your brother sins against you, go and confront him. And if he refuses to apologize and he denies it, then go and take witnesses. Like, these things are not trivial. The stuff that you experience and the way that it affects you is not trivial. And it is going to have an impact on you moving forward. Like he said, hearing that changed him. And it will impact on all of his relationships going forward. And I'm not talking about romantic, I'm talking about friendship. when you have experienced betrayal from a friend, it causes you to question all of your friendships, and it causes you to be cautious in all of your friendships and to back away in many respects and to shut down and to keep your distance. And that means that you end up a bit more isolated than you should be, and you don't have the support system that you actually need to recover and to get through the healing process. And like he was saying about the gay community, they are very, well, the men at least, are very sexually fluid. And I imagine that, like, friendships would be difficult in that situation. Something that I've experienced, which, it's not a one-for-one, but I think it's kind of similar. It's a kind of similar environment. When you go to, like, a church, which is all about finding a spouse, like, those churches. Those churches where people are constantly on the lookout for a husband or a wife. And I go to church for community. I go to church to hear about God and to learn more about God and spirituality and things like that. I don't go to church to hook up. And I have left churches because they have that environment, and it creates a really toxic place. Because generally what happens, and of course this is a heterosexual version, but generally what happens is, like, for me as a woman, all of the other girls or women, depending on what age it was that I was there, would be very suspicious of me, would be very standoffish. I didn't really make very many friends in that situation. And all of the guys would either be, like, very... I don't even see you. Or they would be very lecherous. So the chances of making friends in an environment like that is extremely slim. Like, I don't want to be preyed upon, and I also don't want to have some catty gossip about me going on in the background. And I feel like that is what happens in, like, a community sort of setting when you bring sexual tension into that equation. And I get that dating is difficult, and sometimes you have to put yourself out there in, like, your friendship circle or whatever, but I don't know, like, for me, I would rather just be single for the rest of my life than to make it weird. But that's just me. And I have to say, like, the church environment that I'm now in is much, much healthier and happier. Like, I talk to everyone there. They all know me. They're all friendly towards me. I don't get treated with suspicion by the women. I don't get standoffishness or lecherousness from the guys, which is great. So I have lovely, friendly conversations with everyone. And when I first started going there, I was single. So I could have been, like, in the threat category if that was how they operated. But because it's a church where a lot of people are young but married and they've got small children, I think they're just very settled people, and, like, they're not on the lookout. They don't assume that anyone else is on the lookout. They're just there to talk about God. And that is really what I was looking for in a church environment. I'm like, can we please talk about God right now? So I kind of understand what that must be like in many respects, and I guess that it's hard to rock the boat in a situation where you have a small community and everyone is so accepting of this kind of behavior. Like, they don't see the issue with it. And so in some cases like that, if they think that you might be, judging them in any way by saying, oh, I believe in faithfulness and fidelity and that sort of thing, it's like, oh, well, how dare you judge us? Nah. So I understand why he might not necessarily want to express all of his feelings. But I think that it's really important to acknowledge your own feelings and to be that person who validates your own emotions, especially when you've been in a situation where other people keep invalidating your emotions. And just say to yourself, you know what? I feel the way I feel because I have a reason to feel that way. I have been backstabbed. I have been premeditatively betrayed. I have been treated like a mushroom, kept in the dark, and fed BS. I have been lied to. I have been manipulated. I have been gaslit. I have been devalued in so many ways. And I just think that it's so important to say that to yourself and to just say, in no way, shape or form is that okay. So I'm assuming that he would never treat anyone else that way. And so I don't understand why he thinks that anyone else should treat him that way. And yeah, to just kind of go, oh yeah, that it's fine. I understand. Like, that will bite you later on. You can suppress your emotions, but eventually they simmer away underneath and they eat you up from the inside out. And I just think it's really important to acknowledge it and to process it. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't joined the channel yet. Give it a thumbs up, share it with people, and I will see you next time. Bye.